Industry has continued to witness major growth with the liberalization of the media environment. While its significance in the economy is believed to be high, there is no clarity regarding what constitutes the film industry in terms of value addition, trade, investment, and employment. The Kenya Film Commission undertook a survey that developed Kenya's first film industry satellite account, if you like, FISA, that promises to finally give a valuation of this industry. But will it be the end-all, be-all for this elastic yet underutilized sector? Hibak side interrogates this with KFC CEO Timothy Odhiambo. But the sign language interpreter Catherine Semaloi and I, Stanley Nyeringeta Doc, for tonight. We'll leave you with this interview. Goodbye. See you tomorrow for Morning Cafe for some fresh coffee. Goodbye.
Good evening and welcome to The Marketplace. This week, we're going to be focusing on the creative economy. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the film industry. What exactly is happening in that industry? How exactly are policy shifts taking place in that sector? And what exactly the Kenya Film Commission has to do with it? Already we have the CEO of that particular commission, Mr. Timothy Odhiambo. Welcome to TV47. If you could just tell us, what is the state of the film industry right now?
First, I'll start by introducing Kenya Film Commission, which is a state corporation under the Ministry of Youth Affairs, the Creative Economy and Sports. And our key aim is to catalyze growth and development of the film industry in Kenya. So when you ask about the state of the film industry in Kenya, right, I think this is a highly emerging industry that has a huge potential of creating opportunities for most of our young people, creating wealth for this nation, connecting people, branding our country, and also attracting more investments into our country. So the state of the film industry, that we have an industry that is very fast growing. Yes.
You've talked about catalyzing employment, and the film industry is a very flexible sector. We have about 35% of the youth who are unemployed. Do you feel like with better policies and with better statistics that we could be able to achieve more employment?
Absolutely. When you look at the film industry, this is the single most industry that can be able to accelerate more jobs than any other industry. So when we have better policies, that will be an impetus to create more jobs in our country. Remember, filmmaking is a communal kind of job. You can never produce a film as a single person. You'll find that in front of the camera you have one or two people, but behind the camera you have several people that are coordinating and able to facilitate the storytelling to make it complete.
And the youth are a demographic that are largely within the film sector. I believe that a lot of the people who are employed or, indirectly benefiting from the film sector are youth, or this demographic is benefiting directly or indirectly.
Of course, when I look at storytelling does not have any boundaries. Right. When growing up as an individual, I used to get most of the stories from my grandmother and my grandfather. But today, stories are told by the young and the youthful people as well as the old. So this is an industry that cuts across all demographics. Yes.
When it comes to this particular industry, of course the KFS has a lot of projects. Which are these projects and how exactly are they benefiting people in the film industry?
Well, as I said, Kenya Film Commission, as an agency responsible for promotion, development and marketing Kenya as a film destination, has come up with very many programs that are aimed at building capacity in terms of skills, attracting investments into the industry, and also creating a marketplace that will enable buyers and sellers of content to converge and connect. Some of the key programs is our My County, My Story program, which is purely a program that is aimed at encouraging counties or stories from counties to be told, and also creating an awareness in terms of screening culture in our country. I believe out of the 47 counties, when we have 47 stories being produced at least after 6 months, then these stories will help Kenyans to integrate among themselves. It will help us to understand each other and promote more integration and cohesion. Beyond that, we'll create more jobs and provide an avenue of accelerating economic well-being of our young people and also growing wealth for this nation. Other programs that Kenya Film Commission is implementing is capacity building. We build capacity at counties because we would like to have high quality productions. And when we have high quality productions, then we are assured that we can be able to have our stories going beyond our borders. This has been demonstrated through the number of productions that you have seen being acquired by international broadcasters, VODs, among others. When we have our stories being told at the international level, and with the emergence of the digital space, our stories can be consumed by so many people. And the more people consume our stories, the better for us, because they don't just consume, but they purchase. Other than that, the Commission is also implementing what we call the Kalasha International Film and TV Market. The market is purely a marketplace where buyers and sellers converge. And here, they actually, both local and international filmmakers connect, explore, discuss issues of policy. We undertake workshops that are geared towards providing filmmakers with the new trends in the industry, what is happening, what to expect, and also an avenue for them to just connect and promote more co-production. Remember, for the very first time, Kenya has signed an agreement with China, as well as we have signed an agreement with South Africa. And the main aim of signing these agreements is to promote more co-production. And when we promote co-production, we expand our market. And expanding our market, for example, with China, who have so many people in terms of population, if 400 million Chinese were to consume one product from Kenya at a cost of $20, I can assure you that that one sale will be able to make the producer of this film to create a lot of wealth. But we are saying we would like to be able to advance this more and have more Chinese consume our content. Beyond China, Africa has over 1 billion people. The African market is big enough to be able to consume our content. So through Africa Union, the Commission again is working to see to it that as a host for the Africa Audiovisual Cinema Commission, we can be able to have Africans consuming African content, and Kenya being one of the source markets. Other than that, we have My Kenya, My Story, which is a mobile phone film competition, because we believe you no longer need to tell your story by using the most sophisticated equipment. Right. You can be able to tell your story by using your mobile phone, because as long as you have a smartphone, you can be able to utilize this smartphone to actually tell your story. Capture your images, edit the same using the same facility, and be able to post-produce and package it in a way that it can be consumed by many. So we are promoting Kenyans to tell their stories from wherever they are. And with this, we will be able to advance more stories coming out every month or every week, because us, it's all about storytelling. Beyond that, we are also focused on the legal and policy framework for the film industry. Because when you have a proper frame in terms of funding, in terms of incentives for foreign productions, then we would like to see to it that we are able to attract more investments into the film industry. The more foreign productions are done in the country, the more skills transfer is achieved. We also get to have our young people get to interact through shadowing on production to get highly empowered skills that can be able to help them compete with their counterparts in other parts of the world. So the film industry, in a nutshell, brings us an opportunity for all, both local or foreign, to interact, connect, and produce, tell stories that can be able to traverse the world by giving us an opportunity to get to understand one another.
An emerging thought is that the film industry is a bit more informalized, and data collection would help in enhancing this particular sector, even when it comes to getting money from the exchequer. Maybe if you could just give us an insight. What are some of the numbers that we're playing around with, just to give us an insight on what you have found out so far?
Of course, we are going to officially launch the FISA account on the 28th of this month, and we have specific figures that will be announced. I may not be able to divulge the specific figures right now, but I can assure you they are in billions. Meaning the industry has the potential to even do more, and this will also be able to trigger the need for certain aspects to be, or intervention to be undertaken to ensure that we even grow the figures from the current numbers to extra numbers. Of course, the other critical component of the FIS account is that we are going to have an avenue to open up space for financial institutions to get interested into supporting the film industry, and also investors to have more confidence as this is an emerging and a growing area. It being an area that has not been ventured by so many people, I'm just rallying on business people to actually look at this as an area that is seriously viable and that we can be able to do more. And storytelling is not a very complex component, but it needs investment. And that's why government is putting money on film to be able to inject the impetus for more stories to be told. And when that is achieved, then we'll have an avenue to brand our country, we'll have an avenue to integrate our people, create an understanding among Kenyan communities, and also to get entertained. Remember, there is no better way of getting entertained than watching a movie. Edutainment is one of the key therapies for life. So for us who occupy this space, we can confirm that by participating in the creative industry or supporting storytelling, then you are supporting the well-being of this nation as a country.
Pushing up investments is really important, and you've spoken about, having some sort of connection with the Chinese government and the Chinese people to rally in more investment into the country. However, you would know that there is a blank tape levy, and there are very many levies to this effect. Do you maybe feel like this is pushing away investors?
Not really. Remember, I talked about co-production. Co-production are supposed to help us expand our market. Because if I have Kenyan producers co-producing with the Chinese producers, then I'm giving the Chinese population an impetus to watch a co-produced film between Kenyan and Chinese filmmakers. And by doing that, I'm encouraging the Chinese, because one of their own is part of the production. And when you do that, that is actually taking Kenya to the world market and bringing China to Kenya. So when you actually utilize film as a tool, you're actually creating an avenue for taking Kenya to the globe and bringing the globe to Kenya. So the issue of blank tape levy is not meant to jeopardize the business of film. Instead, it's providing an avenue for income for filmmakers. Remember, as a storyteller, you are entitled to one-off payment, you are entitled to royalties, among others. And through this levy, basically we are saying that this is just going to enhance the income of the artist, which is very critical, because an artist is a business person who is actually working to get income out of his works or her works. And when we have several avenues where we are able to collect revenues and document the same, this will also go a long way to contributing to the figures for the creative industries in Kenya. And when we have the specific figures, I'll be more than happy to come back here next year and announce that the film industry this year has contributed 150 billion shillings. When we do that, then we have clear cut. I have the confidence to negotiate as to how much can be plowed back in helping the growth of the film industry. Yes.
One cannot ignore the essence or the significance of awarding or award ceremonies and acknowledgement of not only films but also production. We have the Kalasha Awards already in Kenya, but a lot of Kenyan filmmakers may say that they're not being acknowledged or that they are not being seen within these awarding ceremonies. What would you say is the criteria of choosing films?
Very well. Kalasha Awards is a program that Kenya Film Commission started in the year 2009 with the sole aim of recognizing talent in this country. Because in the show business, it's all about acknowledgement and being able to recognize talent. So with Kalasha, we are able to award specific practitioners within the value chain, from directors, cinematographers, actors and actresses. We award sound people, actually all technical people within the production cycle. So when it comes to the integrity of our awards, we actually ensure that the jury members are emanating from the film industry. And of course, going into the future, we would like to incorporate international jurists to join into the selection criteria, the assessment, and of course, voting is normally done by the public to a certain extent because of the availability of facilities in the country. And that's where, again, I call on investors to set up cinema halls in the country so that whenever we have Kalasha, voting is done optimally across the country. Today we are limited because we have very few cinema halls in the country, which means we can only come up with a platform that enable filmmakers to watch screens or films that have been submitted on either our website or staged platforms in terms of mobile cinema and so on, which doesn't give everybody an opportunity to be able to vote. But through mobile platforms, we are able to do this. And the integrity of Kalasha Awards cannot be in question because we ensure that it's the same industry through the associations that provide jury members who are able to judge and make the determination. Yes.
On upholding culture and heritage when it comes to the Kenyan scene, film is a way in which a lot of people express themselves. When it comes to films that come from, you know, certain cultures and certain tribes, would you say that they get the most out of these films? Would you say that they benefit the most whenever they produce them?
Of course, to a large extent, any filmmaker comes up with a script and a story because they would like to make something out of this. And any participant, if a film is about a specific community, it is directed to achieve a certain end. One, to create an awareness of the cultural heritage that emanates from this community, which will be understood by the populace and all audiences that access this particular film. And for us at the Commission, we would like to see more cultural related films coming out, and that's why with the film incentives that are coming, we would like to be able to have a cultural taste at any given time. And when that happens, then the community benefits because we are saying you are being incentivized to tell a story about a Pokot or a Somali story. But as you tell this story, the underlying fact is that we would like to test the cultural element, how it's coming out, and how it's being depicted as far as the consumer's eye is concerned. So when we are able to bring out our cultural connection, we enrich ourselves, we enrich anyone accessing these films, and it gives us an opportunity to learn and to get to understand each other. Yes.
On promoting a multi-sectoral approach when it comes to film, policies may not, be pushed as much. Do you feel like there is a multi-stakeholder engagement when policies are being formed?
When you look at the Kenyan Constitution, stakeholder participation is paramount, and you cannot ignore that fact. So any kind of policy that is to be instituted, it has to go through the stakeholder engagement platform. Currently, through our ministry, we are working on the Creative Economy Bill. The Creative Economy Bill, remember, it's a critical deliverable by the Kenya Kwanza government, as it promised in its manifesto, and that is work in progress. This, by the time it is finalized, I can assure you it will have gone through the entire hog of stakeholder validation, input, and expert input as well. So when it comes to engagement, legislative framework, I can assure you the stakeholders are critical because you cannot make a law that the user does not even know how it's going to work. I shouldn't impose anything on you without consulting you. And that's why the Constitution dictates that we should be able to consult the users of these policies before we implement them. So stakeholder engagement is paramount at any given time. Even on our programs at a Kenya Film Commission level, we have programs on audience development, programs on marketing, programs on capacity building, and all these have to be stakeholder oriented. Yes, so that is a very critical factor.
On this front, of course, the Kenya Film Commission has objectives. Do you feel like you've reached these objectives, seeing your growth over the years?
As a catalyst to the industry and looking at making Kenya a vibrant film industry, we are on the trajectory of making this a reality. We have not achieved it 100%, but we would like to be able to optimize the same by championing more of the current programs, working with partners like GIZ, who have supported us to execute the FISA account, as well as other key capacity building programs that will be able to help us create an environment that supports the film industry. Remember, I'm more interested, as the film commissioner, I'm more interested to see film associations, film guilds, having very strong governance structures. So as we get into the future, my focus is to how are we going to ensure that film guilds have very solid offices and they are able to have membership that can rely on them. Remember, the world is now very dynamic. Technology is changing almost all the time. Regulation following technology is a marathon that you can actually look at and see this is an area that we must be very up to date at any given time. And again, let me just get us back a bit and look at how VODs came to the market. Right. There were times when you would produce a film and have it go to cinema. After taking rounds in cinema, it will go to pay TV. After pay TV, before it goes to free-to-air channels. But today, we can be able to produce our story here and have it go to the international market almost immediately. Meaning, times have changed. The digital space has really transformed how we consume content, how we interact with each other. So it is in the film industry that we must be able to know how do we communicate, how do we share our content, and beyond this, how do we ensure that the laws of the land are actually being observed. And for me, there is one single point that I want to emphasize on, self-regulation. Right. Self-regulation from the industry will be able to add a lot of value so that we do not have situations where we are imposing certain policies on the stakeholders in the film industry, but we are allowing filmmakers through their guilds to observe certain tenets that have been instituted by government, but regulated by industry itself. So self-regulation is what I will be able to advocate for.
On the FISA account, I'm sure a lot of progress have been made on collecting data and collecting statistics. However, you have said it's the digital age. People now are making films and disseminating it almost immediately. Do you feel like with technology advancements, it would be a bit more hard to be collecting this data?
I don't think so. With the technology, it will be even more easier because with the Maisha card that is coming, then every filmmaker is documented, belongs to a specific film association, and if you belong to an association, all your undertakings are very well known. And because we want to be citizens who believe in their country and who want to contribute into the growth of this particular economy, you must be able to see to it that technology is actually enhancing transparency and accountability. And being accountable is a virtue that one should never run away from. Yeah, so when we do this, then I don't think with data, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics does this as its main work every day of the year. So by incorporating the film industry into their system, that will enable Kenya to have data that we have been missing and enable key decision makers access this data, and even the filmmakers themselves, as they undertake research as to who are the audiences, which kind of stories should we be able to bring out. These statistics will be able to be very helpful. And remember, as a storyteller, you don't just tell a story. Storytellers are like marketers. Right. Marketers identify needs, then they try to fill the gap that is there by just doing what is right. Identify through research, try to find specific components that can be able to help you feed this particular gap, find proper channels of communication and distribution, and deliver the product to the recipients at an acceptable price that will be able to give you as the entrepreneur return on your investment. Filmmakers the same. Your story is either targeted to children, it's targeted to adults, it's targeted to East Africa, or it's targeted to Kenya only, or it's targeted to the whole world. And when you demarcate or segment your market that way, then you know exactly how to communicate, whom to direct your product, at what price, and what is your return on investment, and after how long. So when you do such kind of thing in a very structured manner, data will always be available. And that's what we are aiming to achieve as an institution. And that will also help the film industry contribute immensely to the desire of the government and, of course, the Kenyan people at large. And when you do that, we will be creating wealth, which is all we want to do as far as our nation is concerned.
And that's a very encouraging growth trajectory. There are fundings, or there is funding that is being channeled into the continent. There's the Afrexim Bank funding that's coming in. Would you believe, knowing that we have our own culture and heritage, do you think that we could have a huge chunk of that money, knowing our reputation?
Yes, Kenya, we have so many entrepreneurs who are able to actually access this kind of funding. And remember, the Afrexim Bank is not looking at just dishing out grants.
Right.
This is a commercial bank that looks at funding film productions based on commercial viability. This will not be free money. It is money that you actually get to do your film business and pay back with a specific markup. So I don't think by Afrexim Bank releasing the fund to the film industry is anything to jeopardize our culture in any way. It is just an avenue to enhance the growth and development of the film industry in Africa. Because we realize in Africa we have many stories, we have talented people, we have beautiful sceneries, we have stories that have not been told that needs to go to the world. And they can only go to the world if they are catalyzed. And that's why the Kenya government, through Kenya Film Commission, as a catalyst for growth in the sector, we are very keen to see that this is an area that is thriving. It's an area that will attract more people into the business and also create more job opportunities. Yeah.
And having that in mind and knowing that we're going to be having the FISA account very soon, where would you say the future of the film industry will be in a couple of years?
Remember, in 2019-20, I want to give you a very interesting statistic.
Yes.
Olsberg International, through their research findings, did disseminate that the globe on animation, gaming, and film, the global spend was $177 billion. With $177 billion being spent on production of animation, gaming, and film, that's a lot of money. So from where I sit, my question is, out of $177 billion, I just need at least Kenya to get $20 billion. Then we'll have SGRs in each and every county of this particular country. And when we do that, we'll have opened up the country in a way that we can be able to do more business, tell more stories, and even enhance our business further. So with the FISA account, I'm actually opening an avenue for information, an avenue to get to understand ourselves. Where are we? At what time? Are we progressing? Like, I'll just give an example. This may not be the actual figure. Right. If last financial year, we were able to contribute 40 billion shillings to the exchequer, the following year, I should be able to see whether I'm growing or I'm going down. That will be able to help me come up with strategies for growth, strategies that will add value to the development of the film industry in Kenya. Yes.
Any maybe budding cultures that you've realized are coming up very well in the film industry?
Of course, I'm very proud with the Somali culture because personally I've been here in Nairobi in Eastleigh, and I've had to have a forum with the Somalis, over 1,000 people turning up who are interested in the film industry. And mine is just to encourage the Somali community in the country to continue telling stories of them in the country. There is one film that I will encourage viewers to actually go and look out for. There is a young Somali refugee who actually came from Somalia, went to Kakuma refugee camp, then migrated to Nairobi, Sicily, went to Netherlands, stayed in Netherlands for 10 years, came back and did a film And this film is asking one question. I was born in Somalia, I grew up in Kenya, I moved to Netherlands, and now I'm back to Kenya. Am I a Somali or am I a Somali Kenya or who? So this film is trying to unearth somebody's identity, and that's the power of storytelling. When you watch this film, you'll be surprised that this gentleman is actually bringing out a very genuine question. He was born in Somalia. He grew up in Kenya. Kenya is his real home. Right now he's settled in Kenya. But he went to Netherlands and stayed for 10 years, came back, and he's now here. Who is he? He's trying to find his identity. That can only be unearthed through a story. And that's what he's done. Yeah.
And that is the story of who is telling our story? That's the question we're asking. Who is telling our story? How are they telling our story? And how exactly can we take advantage of the creative economy? That is the state of the film industry. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Daily Report. Have yourselves a lovely night.